Hello, good evening, and welcome to another of our Drumhead live streams. Hopefully you've been watching for the last few weeks. We've had a great time. We've had some amazing guests so far. Last week with Pete Caton and Ian Matthews before that. And we've got next week coming up Mr. Steve White, which is just incredible as well. But so thank you again for watching for the last few weeks. I hope we've cheered you up and managed to impart a bit of drumming knowledge with the community out there. And I hope you're all staying safe, more important than anything else, really. So today, what have we got today? Well, as you look at the screen, it's pretty obvious what we've got today. But I'll tell you what we've got. We've got the rock drumming legend that is Mr. Russ Gilbrook from Uriah Heep, and from many of his teaching masterclasses. You'll have seen him out there. We were lucky enough to have him at the Drumhead studio a while ago before lockdown, and shot some amazing stuff, some great tips for everyone out there. I had a great laugh, great jam with him, just playing along with him on bass, and it was just watching it back, I just loved it. So in a minute he's going to pop up kind of underneath.
Well, you said rock legend, I gave it a rock legend.
So I wouldn't have expected a quiet entry, so to speak. But
hello, Mike, and hello, Rich.
Hello, Russ. Nice. I didn't expect anything less, to be honest.
Well, there we go. What can I say?
Very today. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Strange times, of course, but probably people are adapting their lives to what's going on, and hopefully there's no excuse for no time to practice, is there? Let's face it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's it. Nowadays, you're saying, "Oh, what's your excuse? You're not doing much else." But I honestly, I've done probably more practice than I have for years, which has been great for me. In fact, the other day I was just messing about on the pad, and Rich said, "Oh, you've been practicing then," which is a bit cheeky, really. You know what I mean? But
it's a perfect time for all of that. And I'm, in fact, what I'm doing is I'm what's the word I'm thinking of?
Learning.
Well, I like to always be constructive with my own playing, so I'll revisit YouTube and bits and pieces on the set that I do with Heap. And there are aspects of my playing I don't like. There's aspects that I think, oh, that's quite nice. And I like to keep working on it, because as a drummer, you're always supposed to move forward. No one knows everything. No one's the perfect drummer. And you're trying to just improve little bits, whether it's the groove, the placement of the backbeat, the drum fill you did, a little bit too busy, that was too simple, or whatever it may be. So I revisit a lot, and it's given me lots of time to work on what I've been doing in the past, to try and, when we go out next, hopefully I'll have some new and exciting stuff to play.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like we were saying just before we came on, this isn't, what we've got to try and not do is just curl up in a ball and go, oh, it's all horrible, it's terrible, let's just disappear until it comes back. You've got to go out there and grab the opportunity, haven't you? And say, okay, I'm not touring for just like you. We've got nothing for the rest of the year now. We've just another few festivals just kind of fallen through. Yeah. But you've got to think, well, what am I going to do then? Hopefully we will come out the other side. This is just we've been put on hold for a while, but it'll be great if we all come back, another 10% better next year as musicians in the bands that we're in. You know what I mean? It's great for the people watching us, isn't it?
I don't think there's any reason why not. As I said, it's almost like someone's handed you extra time to practice. You can't go out as much. You've got to be stuck indoors. You're going to twiddle your thumbs, and it's no good playing for 3 or 4 hours on Nintendos and PlayStations. I'm sure you can dedicate an hour to drumming, but serious, proper playing, because you haven't got to look at the clock for any reason. Now's the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got to keep going. And I know we were saying before, and Rich at Raw Studios, he's as busy as ever because you've gone out and you've found the people, and people want to come and learn, don't they? Now, and this time I've started online lessons, and I've got a load of people I never had before because they've got time during the day to do it when maybe I couldn't do it in the evening or whatever. And there's a load of people enjoying just getting into drums for the first time as well, which I find fantastic, because it's great teaching people who are good, but I find it just as rewarding teaching people who've just literally picked up the sticks and they're really buzzing for playing their first fill and first groove.
I think you're right, Mike. Absolutely. There's a thing I don't teach that many beginners now, but there's a thing to give them a good foundation and make sure they understand the very core basics. Then they can build on top of that. If we miss the basics, then we can't really do anything because it's all going to collapse at some point. And I know, Russ, that's something that you really believe in, getting those real kind of simple bits together.
Who wants to book the drummer that can nearly play good? No one wants to book him. And there's so many drummers out there that do that. Now, we know it's hard work. No one's got the gold dust. All you've got to do is invest a bit of extra time on the simple, basic things, because what takes care of a great sound is good technique. And good technique requires the correct basics. It's as simple as that. It's not really hard to figure out. But what this dead time has done for a lot of people is people have now got so much thinking time. I need to get a hobby. I've got to get a hobby to kill some time. Yes, pick up the drumsticks and learn to play drums because it's fantastic.
It is. So with in terms of I was saying they're getting a good grounding. Let's move on to maybe some sort of if you were talking to drummers who are starting out, what would your advice be in terms of maybe some starters exercises to work on? What would you suggest?
Get fit to punch the lights out the guitarist that won't turn down. No, I mean, hey, no. What you got to do is.
What about singers?
What you got to do is, for me, it's always been. I'm never one for scrutinising how you hold the sticks. I don't really feel that's the most important thing. A lot of people do, and there's some drummers and drum teachers that feel that. I don't. It should be a natural thing. You bring your arm up, you put the stick in, and you grab it. Now, we don't strangle it, we just grab it. The only thing I would say is your index finger shouldn't be wrapped round like that. That strangles the stick. So it should be a little bit more of a looseness moving down the stick, not on top, just slightly moving down, so there's a gap there. It allows a bit more freedom of the movement. Now, as I've said, if people would click on with the episodes, when I came up, you guys kindly invited me up to do some stuff. The wrist hinge is the most important thing, and that's the thing that most drummers really do struggle with. It locks, the tension comes here from the elbow joint, and that's purely just because the wrist isn't used to doing that, but we don't do that in everyday life. So when we hold the stick, we're trying to get used to such a relaxed, as relaxed as that is, playing that slow, it's the same relaxed feeling you have when you play faster. But what people tend to do is of course, everyone wants to play everything fast. It's the excitement factor. So when they think they've got the hang of it, they start to play a bit faster, and then this starts to happen, but they still think it's okay because they're actually playing fast because they're not experienced enough to realise that that's wrong, because that's why you have a teacher to say, no, you're not doing that. Oh, I get it now. But when they're practicing at home, that seems, look how fast I can play. Oh, look at that. Yeah, and they brainwash themselves that speed is acceptable. Of course, we know that on a pad and maybe an electric kit, it might sound okay. On an acoustic kit, it sounds dreadful. And you certainly won't be able to keep that up and you'll get injuries through years of playing like that. And of course, you go on to the double, which everyone avoids, because it is very, very, very difficult to play a double stroke and execute it in the right manner. When we play it around the drum kit, of course, the skins become slightly more, they're not as tense, if you like, as a snare drum. It's easier to play doubles on a snare drum because of the tightness. And the other toms become more slack. It's hard. You've got to pull the strokes out of especially the floor toms and stuff. And if you've got, like you said, an 18-inch floor tom, you've really got to go with something to get them out. But that's why we practice our technique.
Yeah.
And plus, people don't realise that really most of the drum fills that you play in what I would say the majority of the music. Now, we've got to put things in context. We're not drummers. We're not actually got enough life in us to play all the rhythms in the world on the drums. It's just not possible. You can't be a master of jazz and a master of rock and a master of Latin, master of jungle. There isn't enough time, because as you develop, and certainly for the players who turn professional, you can't help the road it goes down. The road goes down a certain way so that you can earn money to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's very difficult. You don't get Dave Weckl play. I mean, there was an instance when Vinnie Caliuta had to start practicing all his chops. I think it was he played on I might get this wrong, so don't quote me, but he played on a metal band's album. They wanted him because obviously they heard he was a fantastic player. Do you remember that?
I think it was Megadeth, Russ.
Megadeth, that's correct. Yeah.
Megadeth.
Was it?
Even he had to go in and practice his chops and play a different way, because you do play different in a metal band as opposed to an Afro-Cuban band, as opposed to a jazz. It's all different. A different headspace, different setup. You can't have the same drums and the same cymbals, because you're playing a musical instrument, and it's our melodic instrument that has to fit in with everything else going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and it's the same with what you play, whether you change the size of your sticks because you're playing a jazz. I wouldn't play these with jazz. I can't play them. I change my sticks. I still do some gigs now with a keyboard player from the Animals called Alan Price. I was on tour with him when I was 18 for 6 years, okay? And he really did embellish my playing immensely. But when I do gigs with him, it's at the Bull's Head in Barnes with Bobby Tension, Zoot Money. It's a very quaint little 60-seater pub in the back. And I take my big kit. The kit doesn't matter. The kit's given the full sound, but I'm playing with control. It's not Animal Russell anymore. I have to be considerate to the music. And so therefore, I'm playing old school rhythm and blues basically with him, because they just thrive on feel. Alan Price doesn't read music. He's not interested. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first joined him, he gave me a tape, said, listen to the set. And I rang him up after a week saying, well, that bit, don't start telling me about the drums. I'm not interested. I booked you to play the drums. You play them. And so it's, because you've got different kinds of musicians. You've got the musicians who are field players and have big ears. And you've got the other musicians who learned and were schooled from, notation as well as everything else. And then you've got a mixture of the lot. Notation isn't everything. It's an asset. But Mick Box from Uriah Heep, what chords you playing? I don't know, mate. I say, it sounds good. I played something in 7/4 to him. And I say, well, how does that come across to you? I don't know. I just feed it and play it. So there's something in, sometimes understanding isn't necessarily what you need to do, because at the end of the day, the result comes out in your playing, and that's the most important thing.
It's interesting on the understanding side of things. On the singer in our band, he refused to learn too many chords, because he said if he knew too many of the rules, it would restrict the way he actually created the songs he did. You know what I mean? Which was I suppose you can say the same for the musical side of things. I've had times where I've had students, grade 8 students, who can read the dots, and we've all had this. They can read all the dots and they can play paradiddles probably faster than I can, but there's no musicality, and they can't just go in and jam. They have to be told what to do, and that really frustrates me when people are sort of taught in that regimented way, and they don't know how to just get out of it.
And sometimes, Mike, it's not putting anyone down, but some people can only get to a certain standard. It doesn't matter what you do to them. They're just not cut out to get to a higher standard. You've got some guys that just can't hear the next chord progression. They can't feel what the bass or the guitar is doing. And so they don't latch on very quick. They haven't got the big ears. They haven't got the talent to understand the next procedure in a song. So they have to learn. But there's still a place for everybody in the music business. Some are learners, some are naturals, some like reading, some don't like reading. Play it again, I can hear it, feel it, do it. Look at Buddy Rich, all the Buddy Rich books. He can't even read bloody music. All the Buddy Rich books out there. Sash a guy in there, play it once and then I'll play it. Because he's got a photographic memory, he understands music, and if you really are into the band or the music that you're in, sometimes you know where it's going just because you do. through experience.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it is just experience, and it's playing with people as well, not just sitting on your own, playing with other musicians.
Good, bad, and indifferent. And you know what? I've been searching for 40 years to find that book of experience. You know, there's still not one copy out there. So you've got to live it, because you've got to die on this, right? Yeah. You've got to have your ass roasted on the chair to start to understand what it is that starts to turn you into that great drummer that people want to play with. He's very simple, but bloody hell, what a groove he's got. Or, God, you've got to get him. The power he creates really does excite me. Or, God, he swings that. My God, you should hear him do the swing on his ride cymbal. It's things like that. You know, people turn around and say, get him in because he's technically amazing. His power needle's 250. No, they don't. It's about what you're creating. A great vibe. You create a great sound. You're courteous, you're professional, you turn up on time, you don't get drunk, you don't do the drugs, and overall you make the grounding of that music feel the best it possibly can.
Yeah, see, that there's great wise words there covering all aspects, because a lot of the time we just talk about the playing of the instrument, and being a musician, obviously, as we both know, is just so much more than just
unbelievable.
Yeah, there's so much more. Just talking to young bands and saying, always respect the sound engineer. He's the guy who's going to make you sound a certain way. If you hack him off, you've no idea you're on stage. You don't know what it sounds like. You know what I mean? When they're working little venues and stuff. So yeah, respect and all that side of things is so important. But so no, that's wise words there. But just moving back to going back to what you were saying about when you just started there, because we always end up going off on a tangent.
No.
About the wrists and stuff.
Yeah.
So were you basically kind of saying the problem is that people they tense up basically when they
yeah, they tense up, and what it is everyone's too keen to get too quick, too soon, and you know, it's like anything. Any physical skill you learn takes time of repetition to mold in a new technique and make the uncomfortable feelings comfortable. Because it is, my left hand feels really, really uncomfortable. Yes, it does, because you're trying to go too far. You've got to, even if it's that slow, it doesn't matter. The idea is, that does exactly the same as that. Now I've got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Speed will come with time of doing this and just moving it up just a couple of BPM, so the strain isn't on your technique. You're maintaining the right technique, and for as long as you do that, you'll get quicker, faster and sooner. But don't be too keen. They want to get on a kick, and they think that's nothing. But in their head, because they haven't got the experience of that quite understanding what sounds good, they brainwash themselves. It sounds good.
Yeah.
Of course, when the teacher has to deflate them by saying, "No, sorry, it's awful. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong?" Panic, because as I said, I think I said in one of your little sessions when I came up before, the best teachers are yourselves. You're seeing the teacher once a week or once a fortnight or once a month, and he puts you right. Now, this is what the biggest failure I've seen. When that teacher turns around and says, "Do you understand?" Everyone says yes. And I know damn well they don't. And the reason why they're too proud to say, "Sorry, I don't understand, can you explain a bit more?" is because they don't want to be the village idiot. And that's understandable. But if you go away saying, "Yes, you understand," and you get home and you do your practice session and you clearly don't understand, you're going to play what you think is right. And obviously it's going to be wrong. So you haven't understood it. So you practice it for a week, 2 weeks or a month, wrong, think you're doing all right, go back, and then the teacher said, "No, this is age." Oh, right. Yeah. So it's a cycle. And so it takes so much longer to get it right, because you're not disciplined enough and you're not, "Okay, please, I don't understand, can you explain it?" Because if you understand how to do that and I get it, you can now go home and practice that.
Yeah, I mean, patience is the thing, isn't it? And that's what we get all the time. I mean, you must get it as well. You know, you teach a kid a simple, groove or whatever, and then they play it, and then they play it at 30 BPM faster. And it's like, wow, that's just not.
It's the excitement factor.
And you get excited. Yeah, and I understand that they do get excited and they want to play it fast. But like you said there, the best advice that I'm giving more and more is, to get fast, play slow and play correctly. No one's going to hire a drummer that can play really, really fast, but with no feel, and it's just not good. You want drummers who can lock in and be powerful. The drummers.
No one wants to book a drummer that can nearly play it right. No one wants that person.
No, exactly.
And the same applies to the double. Because the double's so hard, we all know it's really the hardest second part of the drumming thing to learn. Yeah. People shy away from it. They get too frustrated. And so, it all becomes this. And they think that's okay. Because in their mind, they can hear 2 beats and they can't comprehend, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. No, but you're not doing it. No one's going to ask you to play it as badly as that. You've got to face facts. There's clarity. There's space between the 2 beats to allow it to do its thing. And then, therefore, it works around the kit. That doesn't. Hard to demonstrate properly on here because it's so bouncy, but on a skin it's just and so therefore they don't do it because they know that doesn't sound right, so I'll stay away from it. But then I've got no fill ideas. No, you've got no fill ideas. You can't play singles all day, can you? Because as soon as you change position, as soon as you throw one double in, it allows you to go up properly, and then it allows you to move around. As soon as you throw one double in, the whole game's changed. Now your left hand's on the downbeat. Oh, the weak side's on the downbeat. I don't like that because it feels really uncomfortable. Yes. So you avoid it. So you don't do the double. And then we're back to another problem.
Yeah.
That's my experience. That's what I found.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're dead right, Russ, as well, because for me, when I was a teenager, I just couldn't get doubles, and I was so impatient and bloody lazy, basically, that I never cracked it. And I just I almost put it to one side because I could play well enough without a really good knowledge of doubles, and I got through a lot of my career, and then went back and relearned it all because I just that take on how to. I mean, what's your take on if you were someone to say how do you learn to play doubles? It's a really simple thing, but singles and doubles.
It's again, look, there's more than one way it's going to crack. We all know that.
Yeah.
Right? A few ways in which we can do doubles. All I'm trying to put across is I know how I accelerated my playing faster, quicker, and easier, and it suited my body. It suited the way my hands work by using wrists, 2 wrist movements. If it's good enough for 1, it's good enough for 2, in my opinion. So when I do 2. It sounds like 2 singles. Well, that's what we're trying to do when we learn a double. We want our doubles to sound like our singles. We don't want a difference. We don't want singles like this and then doubles like this, which is what happens with people, right? Because they struggle to get the fingers synchronized properly. They can't do the movement. They've got the movement here, drop it, and then catch it. And it works for some people. And if you find a method that starts to work for your playing, there's no problem with that. I haven't got a problem with that. It's just that I'm trying to just simplify one. That's why I got rid of the rudiments and just had singles and doubles. Because if the singles and doubles are the foundation of all the other 45 or 47 or however many there are now, surely if the foundation is right, we just spoke about, everything on top has got to sound good once you've learned the phrase, because they're involving singles and doubles. As I said, that's why I never have to practice my rudiments. I don't practice 7-stroke roll. I can still play it because my doubles are fine and my flow of my accent is fine. Well, there we go. I don't have to practice that. My technique's taking care of it. And that's what happens around the kit. Your technique takes care of your playing. But we've got to start at that bottom level. So 2 beats there. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If it's play singles, doubles, the same. So no one can argue that there's something wrong with that. The argument comes in when we get faster, because obviously the technique changes. My wrist isn't going to be doing this, because the faster you get, motion has to diminish. Motion can't stay up there and get faster. It's impossible. Something has to compromise. And so therefore it diminishes. So that's why I think I explained again in one of your things there. I don't believe in a full stroke up there. I've never seen any drummers play like that in all my life. Yes, they do in marching bands because it's showmanship and they're not playing fast. But no one plays from up there. Everyone plays from here, because at speed, that's where the sticks finish, here. You can't play that. I can't play that up there. The wrist doesn't go up enough, and it's going to bring the arm in. It's going to sound rubbish. I just believe it's powerful enough, but I'm allowing enough movement in here to. This is a straight line. I can't cheat it. If I don't use my wrist, that's coming up together, isn't it? So if I use my wrist, if I start from there and pull back to there, it's proving that my wrist is in fact doing the correct movement. The sticks go the same height. And that's what we're after. And they do the same with a double. Now, when you play it down there, I think I said before, you can't play fingers down there. There's not enough stick moving. Fingers, look at the fingers. What are they, 3 inches long or something like that? And that's what they do. When you move your fingers, what's the stick doing? The stick's moving 6 or 8 inches. So down here, this back bit's moving about 1/4 of an inch. Well, how can the fingers be moving that? They don't. You work on the bounce of the stick. But what is moving, look. Really soft wrists. You can see it moving. And they get louder, louder. And then you're in. And that's you get your double there. And of course it takes time and perseverance, but it's all about relaxation. You can't do that if you've got any kind of tension whatsoever. No,
absolutely. I think that's great, just because it's just so important, isn't it, to be able to crack the double, and everyone goes online and says, how do you play doubles? And there are so many different opinions out there. You know what I mean? And I guess maybe it comes back to what you were saying earlier. It's what works for you. What works for you to create the sound that you want to create. You know what I mean? But no, that's wise words. Now, where I am. Oh, well, yeah, I'm moving all over the place. So I've come back.
I've come back to ask you a question. That we've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, first one's from Andy, and I can't really say this exactly as Andy's put it, so thanks for that, Andy. But how did you develop your groove? How did you get that groove to really, really lock in?
Playing with clicks. Well, I say playing with clicks. I started playing with clicks, and then I actually changed my clicks to 2 formats that I think help someone groove. If you got a click going like this, not very inspiring, is it? If you've got a drum loop going, you start to move already, because groove is about a feeling.
Yeah.
And you have to impart, look at all the great groovers, their body's moving with the groove. So I believe, put on music at tempos and play along different grooves or whatever it is, and drum fills, because drum fills have got to be groovy, to music, because music is already getting your emotions going. That doesn't. That's got no emotion at all. So I just find what helps develop groove is start playing with a strict time, because we have to have a reference to time as we learn, but you play to music and drum loops and stuff, because they've got far more of a melodic, emotional way about them. They'll get you just moving, and people like they're afraid of something. Don't be afraid to just back. Yeah, it's about feeling that, singing that, because I'm doing that inside my head. All the professional drummers I know, and I've spoken to bloody hundreds of them, because I'm always wanting to learn. If I'm missing out on something, I don't want to miss out on something as a professional drummer. I want it in my armoury. And they all do the same thing. They're singing the subdivisions. That's what helps you swing. And that's why it's good. And I believe you do it, Rich, is you get your students to count when they're playing and this, that, and the other when they're playing. Yeah, the voice can be really great. Obviously, you have to mute it when you record. Of course, can't have that one going over it, even though I've got some grunts on my albums with Heat. But at the end of the day, and the funny thing is, if you get anybody to sing a groove like that, they will not sing it out of time. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
You can't sing it out of time. Everyone goes, and it's perfect. Right, mimic that. Get hold of it. Go. That starts to get you feeling that way.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Just on a side note there, if you're making noises when you play, we posted a jam that Russ and Mike had when Russ was filming with us today on Instagram TV. So go and look at that, and you will actually hear Russ's noises that he makes.
That's only because I ate biryani the night before.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. So the next one, Russ, this is from Russell. Which drummer influenced you the most?
Oh, that's a funny one, because I was born playing the drums. You know, literally. You know, I was born with club feet. I've got hardly any movement in my ankles at all. So I have to play. I can't never ever play heel down. My feet don't come up at all. Right. So I had operations when I was 18 months, 2 years. But I used to drag myself into the kitchen when I was 2 years old, turn over plastic bowls with spoons and bash on them, right? And then my dad was a really good keyboard player, not professionally, but a really good keyboard player. And he used to play the piano and tap his foot for timing. I used to go over and put my hand on it to feel the tempo. And then my mum used to do the hoovering, and I used to go over and put my head on the hoover because of the vibrations. And they thought, well, we've got a drummer here. And so at age 4, I started having lessons. Now, so I fell into it that way. I didn't see any drummers about at all that inspired me. I was too young. But when I left Georgie Scott, my first teacher, for 2 years, I went to Bob Armstrong when I was 6. Well, my God. But Bob was my second dad. I idolised him. I used to go to gigs with him. I used to carry the sticks. He used to set up his kit. I used to sit in on some of the funky, funky jazz rock bands he played in. And he was probably my idol for ages and ages and ages. And I hung on to every word he said. And I practiced sometimes. And he knew when I didn't practice and when I did practice. And from then, I just started, because I was doing gigs when I was 6, earning money when I was 6, doing shows in the West End when I was 12, and I was touring when I was 14. So I went straight through for a kid, not really sort of latching on to anybody, because I was just doing gigging and stuff, you see. And then Spectrum came out with Billy Cobham. And I thought, what the flaming hell's this? And I suppose he had the next big impression on me was that album. Since then, no one's inspired me. I'm just amazed at how many fantastic drummers there are out there. Yeah. And that's why I say to people, look, I remember teaching at BIM at Brighton, and I used to say to the kids there, all, you know, just at the point when they're going to turn pro themselves, I said, we all go for an audition. Who's going to get it? You 20 and me. Who's going? Oh, you're going to get it easy. You're going to say, no. First of all, you don't know what they're looking for. And second of all, you've got to be confident about your own ability of what you've got to offer in that band. I might play a million things better than you, but it might be the 1,000,001 thing they're looking for, and you might be able to do it.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. I mean, looking at drummers now, I mean, again, when we started to play, Russ, when we've been playing, you know, between us, we've got probably 100 years worth of experience. We didn't have anybody to look to. So like now with YouTube and listening to different outlets, it's so easy to get music now and watch things. You can just take one little bit and go, well, that's it. You know, like years and years ago, it was always one person that you looked up to. Now there's too much of it, and you've just got to go, whoa, hold on a minute, this is too much. Because there is too many people to look at, and then you can kind of get in danger of trying to be like everybody else as opposed to being yourself.
That's it. You just hit the nail on the head there. And that was another reason why my CD collection isn't vast. It's not vast for a particular reason. Not because I don't like music. It's because I do not want to end up being influenced by anyone so that I end up sounding like them.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to be in this business, because there's so many great players out there, is to be individual. And there was 240 drummers went for the Uriah Heep gig, and I got it. And I got it because I decided this is my time and I'm going to be Russell Gilbrook. You either like it or you don't. Now, the gig's perfect for me simply because not only can I play simple and as leery as I want, go across that, I can do anything I want, because luckily Uriah Heep came up in the 1970s where you listen to Bill Wood with Black Sabbath and Ian Pace, they're not playing, oh, don't be so busy in the chorus, and they're playing whatever they damn well want. They were free to do what they wanted. No one cared, really. So it's a great gig for me.
Yeah.
But I forgot what I was saying then. I always do that. I always do. I'm so excited to give everyone so much info.
You're just being yourself, Russ. That's what you were talking about.
Oh,
Yeah, you're just being yourself. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah, so I've always said there's a time for practice and the books, and there's a time for a couple of months to don't even pick a book up. And with what you've learned so far, just have a smash around, but record it. You must reflect on your own performance to have an understanding of what you're doing, where you're going, what's it sounding like, what needs to be worked on. Oh, flipping out, that was good. You know, and you have to develop yourself through playing with in here and up here, not always by reading.
Yeah. Being honest, being honest with your practice as well. Like you're saying there, recording yourself, because so many people, and I used to do it when I was younger, you go into a rehearsal room and you make just loads of noise and you think, oh, it's great, everything's fantastic, it's great. And then you suddenly go into a recording studio where the microscope comes out and all the mics are on there. And suddenly a lot of people go, oh, I'm not quite as good as I thought I might have been. You know what I mean? Whereas they should have been when even just playing on a practice pad, you know what I mean? Just recording themselves doing the bits and pieces, listening back. Is it good? Is it consistent? I think you're bang on right there.
You've got to. And, you know, if you're going to talk about a recording situation, no one's the leader here. Everyone's got a pair of ears and everyone's, you know, in a heap, you know, I've got 4 other guys, right? Now, they've all got experience in music. They've all got experience in what sounds good and what doesn't and what feels good. And the producer's there. The producer says, no, Russ, that drum fill, not quite sure about it. Come and have a listen. Now, there's a way in which it's done. That's called respect in there. Constructive criticism done in a nice way can be very valuable, because that producer can just turn around and say, that Phil, you know, that bit there, look, I'm not quite, needs to be a little bit more thunderous. It's a little bit snare drummy, or it's too thunderous. A simple snare thing. And you're just, you're right, you know, because you're caught up in the moment. You're not always going to nail it. They're listening from there. They can hear it in perspective. And so, and also I've had it before with a keyboard player. Like, so Phil might come up with something and he'll turn around and say, you know, on that bit, Russ, I feel like you should have like a 4 there, or it should double up there. What do you reckon? That's the way to do it. Yeah. Yes, let's try it. It doesn't hurt to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just got another question.
There's 3 people watching. Oh.
There's loads. Actually, we've got the most so far. It's good.
Yeah, so well done, Russ. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the record.
I've never been given an extra £5 for doing that. That's why I don't do it.
So, talking about touring, okay, somebody's asking, when you're on tour, what's your regime? How do you stay in shape, and what do you do to warm up before a show?
Right, now I'm very, 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 if I could say it 1,000 times, I would, very big on warming up. If everyone was to try a series of exercises they do to warm up, whatever it may be, and then do those exercises, mix and match them for 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes. Now, remember how you feel at the start, and I will guarantee that after 20 minutes, the feeling is so much more relaxed and everything's just working fantastically well. And apart from which, what it does, you don't put strain on it. You're not going to get injuries. For goodness sake, it's like a sprinter doing a sprint without warming up his hamstrings. You're asking for trouble. He may never pull a hamstring, but is it worth the risk? No, it isn't. And we're not talking about injuries now. We're talking about 40 years' time. Eric Singer has to put loads of flipping stuff all over his body because his body is a continuous aching because he's played a drum kit that hasn't been in the right positions. For so many years, he's done things in his shoulders and his arms and that. So the setup's crucial. No extra stretching. No back problems because I don't believe in a straight back. I never have. So if you go into a straight back, for me, it adds tension, and tension isn't good when you're trying to play relaxed. Now it works for Steve Smith, it works for Billy Cobham. That's fine, but they're two drummers. You have to talk about the majority of people. Look at Steve Gadd, he's well over there like this, right? Because he wants to be relaxed and in. So all your, the 16th floor should be the same height as the snare drum. You don't want to be going down to it. You don't want to be going up to it. Toms can't be up here. Cymbals going up. For goodness sake, everything should be within reach so there's no problems. I always stretch. So I start an hour before we go on. I do stretching for half hour. I do the warm-up. My warm-up's usually half hour to 40 minutes, to be honest, on the pad. Really working hard. Because the first song is quite fast and quite hard. So it's like I'm going out for a track. So I've got to, imperative for me to make sure that I'm ready and I'm well warmed up to go out there. So warm-ups are flipping crucial for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was lazy when I was younger, and I didn't see the benefit of them. And then suddenly I realised that taking just like a little electronic kit or whatever out and just sitting there for 20 minutes before, even jamming with the rest of the band, it can make a massive difference. Because I read about, I think it was the Chili Peppers saying that they'll do a 45-minute show on their own backstage before they go on stage. You know what I mean? Just jump out there and play, because again, I used to have this problem where I'd go out there and it was going back a few years, and our first couple of songs were big bangers and it was like loads of energy, and I was like 3 songs in and absolutely knackered, and it'd take me about 2 or 3 songs to get back into it again. And that's just, I learned through stupidity, but it is massive. And also, as you get older, you've got to look after yourself, haven't you? You've got to
But the mistake people make is they think it's something that comes with age. It's not. What they don't realise is it's more important, because I've always done it, right? But it's more important to do it when you're young. And then the body responds and responds and responds. That's why people say to me, flipping on, you play the drums like you're 25 years old. Well, I look after myself.
Yeah.
I don't get drunk. Right? I do on days off now and again. Nothing wrong with that. I'm working hard on tour. But I never get drunk. I've never seen me drink and play, ever. I don't do the drugs thing. And I'm very fitness conscious anyway, but I don't go mental on tour. But I make sure that I'm match fit. And match fit means that my hands are working like they should work. I'm very warm. I stretch well. I run on a spot for 10 minutes. I get the oxygen flow round. I'm ready, like I'm ready for a fight. I've got to go in to do that gig, boom. Because once it takes a hold of you and drags you down, you're struggling. And that's not good. And that's when tension comes in. And tension means over a 2-hour concert, you're going to ask for injuries. Maybe not now, 5, 10, 15 years, maybe 30 years' time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's like the people who are eating burgers now. Well, it doesn't matter. No, it's not now. It's 30 years' time.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. The question come in from Liz, and she asks, "What's it like playing with Davey?"
Oh, it's good. Well, the story is, luckily for me, I had a few years playing with Trevor Boulder, who sadly passed away. And Trevor, of course, was one of the Spiders from Mars with David Bowie. Phenomenal bass player, absolutely. And I don't know about you guys, but when you're a drummer, when you play with other musicians, you get an immediate feedback on what part of the quarter note they play on. Yeah. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's really annoying, right? And you have to say, once again, the hat's going on. I'm the captain of the captain of this ship, and this is where the groove it is. I don't care where you're playing. This is where it is. Right? And in your lifetime, you'll find that there aren't loads and loads of bass players that just fit in like a tailor-made glove. Well, when I played with Trev, my God, I didn't have to think about timing. I didn't have to think about anything. It's almost like he knew what I was going to do. I knew where he was going. We understood we had to do the shuffle a certain way. He understood when I did a fill. He complimented me on some syncopation stuff. And he was right in the middle of the quarter note with me. Now, that's the magic. Because now you've got a rhythm section that's so together like this. The icing of the guitar and keyboards, they relaxed even more, and then they're free to round that quarter note up. We've got the big fat quarter note, but the guitar can play in front or behind the same as the keyboards and really make the feel work like this because of the grounding right. And then I played with bass players, of course, that it's not quite right. It's nasty. It doesn't feel good. Now, when Trev died, sadly, I knew Dave. I played Dave in a couple of bands before in London and that, and I had the same feeling. I used to do a Metalworks gig up in Camden. Richie Faulkner was in it. He's now with Judas Priest, and it was basically some great players playing rock and metal up in London, if you like. Banged out, it was fantastic. I went up there a few times, and Davey was on bass. And when I used to sit in and play, I had the same feeling I had with Trev. Playing with him, I thought, flipping heck, this is fantastic. So, of course, that band used to take off because, as I said, we made everyone feel great because the lock that we had was fantastic. And when the time came up, I had no hesitations. I said to the guys, leave it with me, please. Try and trust me. I know we've got an audition in, but I'm bringing Dave River. Dave River, they panicked a little bit because you would panic. Brought him down to the audition and he nailed it. And he's been there ever since. Fantastic playing with him. And he's such a lovely man.
Brilliant. Well, that leads on to one other question from AJ.
Yeah.
How did Russ hear about and get the Heap audition in the first place?
So an old friend of mine, Farid Eldwani, who is a massive Heap nut, and I only met Farid donkeys years ago when I was about 21, when my mum and dad first split up. He worked for a solicitor company who was involved in the breakup, and he loved music and he knew I was into music, but at that time I was with Alan Price, and I was doing Alan Price and Ian Shapiro and Little and Large and Tommy Cooper and all that stuff to, pays your money. And he was explaining about Heap, and it was a little bit of I knew a little bit, but not that much. And nothing ever happened. And years and years and years later, I went to see Heap a couple of times with him. He dragged me along to see them, and I enjoyed it. And we'd always become mates because of music. And he just rang me up one day. He said, "You know that band you're right here?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "They're looking for a drummer. Poor Lee's health isn't very good, and they just signed a world tour with a new album, record signing. Do you want to go for it?" And at the time, I went, I'm not really sure. I've been playing with a lot of has-been artists, those that have had their daytime. I didn't want to go down that road again. I felt like I had a lot too often. I wanted to be in a big band and do my thing. I'd done enough of all the other bread and butter work. Anyway, he was the one that told me, and then I had the cheek to invite Mick Box and Bernie Shaw, the singer, down to the Cauliflower Pub in Ilford. I was playing with Expose, which is a rock covers band. It didn't matter to me. You're going to see me play. I'm going to play my backside off. They came down, they enjoyed it, and they just said, yes, come down for the audition. And then it whittled down from 240 to 40 in the last 2 weeks at Terminal Studios. It isn't there anymore. And the greatest story about that, preparation. We had 5 songs to learn, which covered the spectrum of the technicalities that needed in that band. And they said to me, right, the auditions are Monday to Friday. I said, well, as it happens, I can probably do Wednesday. No, hang on a minute. And I was playing with them. I said, no, I can't. I can only do Friday. Oh, so I wouldn't put you in Friday. We've got anything from 10 o'clock onwards. I said, I said, okay, I'll take 12 o'clock. I said, okay, 12 o'clock. So I rang him back half hour late. I said, sorry, I've made a mistake. I've got a dentist appointment. Can I make it a bit later? Well, the last one's at 4. I said, can I take the 4 o'clock slot? Now, I deliberately did it because I wanted to be the last thing that they're going to damn well remember. Right? Good, bad, different. But I wasn't. I was up there before. I was in the cafe over the road before the studio opened. And when it opened, I went in. And I listened to my competition. And some of them were struggling. Well, a lot of them were struggling. There were some name drummers there as well. I won't mention them. It's not fair. But, the other thing was I had a hire kit. I said, I'm not playing a hire kit. Well, I said, no, I'll destroy it in 10 seconds. I said, I'm bringing my own kit up. So I managed to wiggle the last day, the last audition, and on my drum kit. Anyway, I went up there and said I was up there the whole day, and then these drummers putting their headphones in, they're doing all this, and I said to my ex-wife, another health gone, ex-wife, I said, if they've got to learn it now, they're in big problems. You should, going up to audition, you should be slick and confident and ready to do it. So anyway, they're coming in out, and they have a break for lunch. I said, oh, I'll go. Hi, Russ. I said, how's it going? Oh, we're having a bad day. Some of them can't swing. Some of them can't do the double-handed shuffle. That's very crucial in a few heap songs. They're not hitting them hard enough. Oh, I've been telling them, think they're singing, they can't sing. Oh, they're speeding up. Oh, my God, sounding dreadful. Anyway, come to my audition, and they all looked really tired, like they had a whole week of it. And the producer was in there, actually, because I had to go in 4 weeks later to record the album, Wake the Sleeper. And the producer was in there as well. So they had the crew there, the band there, and the producer. I went in there, set the kit up. And while I'm setting up, they said, oh, Russ, have you learned the 5 songs? I went, no. What? I said, no. I said, no, I've learned your whole life set. We can do it now. Should have seen their faces of delight. Oh, you've learned that? Yes. Now that's preparation. Some of them haven't even learned the 5 songs. I learned the whole live set because I was determined to make this gig mine. And we went in there, played, and the rest is history. Got it.
How long did they know that immediately? Did they tell you there and then, or was there a process after?
Yes. What it was, I played. We had a jam. I did the songs. At that time, I was singing in the band. I don't sing anymore because of logistics of the mics. I sweat so much, the mics kept blowing up. I just thought, forget it. I'm just going to concentrate on this. And they were fine with that. But I played everything, got off the drums. Mick comes over, started to have a chat, and I said, hang on a minute. It's about 10 minutes. I said, hang on a minute. So he's talking to me like I've got the gig. He said, you haven't got the gig. We went round the pub, and I did sink a bottle or 2 of red, and how I got home, I'll never know.
Nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. Preparation. That's brilliant.
Preparation for everything.
It's taking it about as far as you can, and that's I admire you for that massively.
The best thing is you've got to have confidence in the ability that you're putting in to the thing you're doing. As I think I've said on one of you about a waterline being here. The waterline's there. You're struggling to breathe once it's there. If you keep the waterline here, and I'm talking about your technical ability, I'm talking about you being not nervous. Yeah, I remember doing little tricks I did in sessions. I used to turn the session, warm up, doing all that. Right, you ready to go? No, I'm just going to go to the toilet. I'm not going to the toilet. I'm going to calm down. Oh, yeah. Hello?
Yeah, you're still there.
Am I?
Yeah.
I've lost you. Hang on.
Oh, we can see you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're definitely there.
I'm not going to the toilet. I'm going to calm down, get my head in gear, grab a little drink, come back, relax, right? Headphone mix is exactly how I need it because you can't play with a crap headphone mix. You can't be searching for clicks and play it. And away you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just we're kind of getting towards the time we said we're gonna wrap it up. In terms of what other, you've said a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of knowledge gone out.
I'm really keen to give everybody what I know.
I know you are. But okay, and are there any sort of final I don't know, words of wisdom that you would have from it? You've said so much so far about various areas, but are there any things that you'd like to kind of finally just put in there that, to inspire or to help people with the playing?
I think you've got to keep recording yourself and reflecting on what it is you're doing at the moment, and then really work on the things that are not pleasing you, and the ones that are pleasing you, play them to put a smile on your face and get that smile to encourage you to keep doing more and getting better. Don't get frustrated you can't do left foot clave and play 33-8. It's not needed at the moment. Prioritise what is important. You want to play great grooves with great feels, right, that doesn't speed up, great dynamics with good control, with a smile on your face, enjoying the music, so that you get booked and booked and booked. Dennis Chambers doesn't have a problem getting a gig, and nor does Steve Jordan. But Steve Jordan doesn't play like Dennis Chambers. Dennis Chambers doesn't play like Steve Jordan. Charlie Watts doesn't do a bad job with the Rolling Stones. So it proves you haven't got to play like Mike Mangini in Dream Theater. So the gigs are out there for everybody, but the Dream Theater gigs are such a small percentage. Forget that. It's great and have fun with it. But at the end of the day, priority is doing more Charlie Watts than you'll ever do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's some great words of wisdom. And I have to say, it's been another pleasure having you on. The session you came up and did Thursday of a month, the stuff that came out of that was amazing. If anyone wants to see that, if you want to go to, we've got a website now, which is drumhead.com for people to go and have a look at. If you go on there, you can see a great selection of stuff that Russ has done for us before. Again, playing on his British Drum Company kit, which sounds absolutely monster with his 26-inch kick up there. And it's great, So thank you once again for coming on. It's just been great, and hopefully you'll come back on and do it again at some point in the future.
Can I just show someone something very quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
You're on about the singles and the doubles, right?
Yeah.
Now, that simple thing, you're adding, you call them 16th notes if you want, you're adding a little double at the end. Yeah, it's almost like some paradiddle at the end, isn't it? But is it? It's a double. Paradiddle. Right, which puts you on the left side. Now, as soon as you do that double and you insert the left hand in between, it becomes a 3-stroke rough. Puts you on the left side, right? Now, that's the first, to me, that's the first thing. But now you've got to start with the weak hand, and that's why people shy away. We have to balance our limbs out. Now, by doing that, if you think about it, all the drum fills that you hear have these small little phrases in, really. Most drum fills are about doing a boom, ba 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 ba, little one there, ba 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 ba, little one there, 2 little ones there, right? So what I'm saying is the 2 little ones are just this, but if your double's no good, you'll shine away from that. So that's why simple fills that have those little inflections in the 3-stroke buffs and stuff, they sound wicked. Well, I can't do them. No, because we didn't get that going. Balance out goes you all over the place. So once you can do you're doing all of those things all over the place. Then you can just break them down into the fills that you want to do. So, but it's all come from that. All of that has got a double in.
Yeah.
You won't be able to do any of that if you haven't got your doubles together. None of it.
No.
That's the thing. It's simple to learn, hard to do. Really.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you.
Brilliant.
But now, great. Again.
And do you remember this?
Oh. Yeah. Oh,
Where's it from? Ian Matthews.
Oh, you mean?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah. That's a great. Great little exercise.
We can do that exercise like this. I've done it wrong. Never mind, I'll do it again. Oh, God Almighty! Sort of. But anyway,
So,
take the exercise and try and work out your paradiddle diddles and paradiddles within that exercise.
yeah. So if you slowed that down, just for people to know, tell everyone what you're doing.
I don't know. I just worked it out. What I did was, if you hear this, go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. So you work out, and that's what I'm saying. I don't mess it up before then because I'm just being put on the spot. I'm not very good at just being put on the spot sometimes. It's why if they go on there and they see me doing mistakes on your thing, I don't mind. I'm human, right? But at the end of the day, I'm hearing that phrase. Like it's all about those phrasing. Gap, gap, gap. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you hear it and you've got your hands going. You can just play.
Yeah.
It's natural. It's natural to just do it.
Right. Yeah. No, you were right. I was being slow cutting on to exactly what you were doing there. So I'm thinking, I was watching you trying to work out exactly what you're doing.
Oh, right. Yes, Ian Matthews thing.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's brilliant. And I thought, hang on a minute. I wonder whether I can put paradiddle diddles and paradiddles in the middle of it.
But that's all it is. It's a mixture of singles and doubles.
Yeah.
You got it.
In a different format. That's all it is. And then pull out the accents, the control between the big notes and the small notes.
Notes. That's exactly right. And that's the name of the game. That's all you're going to hear on a record, the small notes and the big notes.
Yeah. And anybody can play a big note, really. You know, you could grab somebody off a bus and go, can you do that? And they can do it.
Mm.
It's that bit that's the issue most of the time.
That's right. You're right then. Control
Yeah.
and understanding.
Absolutely. Well, Russ, listen, thank you so much for joining us.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, as we thought it would be. So before we sign off with Russ, we've got obviously the website Mike's mentioned, drumhead.com. You can see everything on there. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got obviously YouTube where we're streaming now. Next week on the live stream, next Tuesday, we've got Steve White. And then the week after, we've got from Germany a guy called Klaus Hessler, who is a phenomenal player, phenomenal teacher. So that'll be the week after. So again, we'll post all that out onto social media and things like that, so you can check all that out. But I think from me, Mike, and from Ash, who's controlling everything behind the scenes, just a massive thank you to Russ. It's been an absolute pleasure, Russ. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And we will see you. We will see you all soon, Mike.
And stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Exactly.
Stay safe.
Hey, Chris. Way!
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.